What's up, everybody? It's Man of Low Moral Fiber here. My name's Luke, and in this video we're going to be taking a second look at the Volcano as a part of my Does It Suck series, because like many other weapons, it got a significant boost as a part of the community patch. The Volcano is the Legendary Maliwan Sniper. It is only available in Fire Element, and it is available most commonly from the Warrior. This is a throwback to a weapon in Borderlands 1, which was also a fire-only sniper. In the unpatched version of the game, we can see that the base damage on this weapon happens to be significantly lower than that of a purple Maliwan Snider with the Maliwan barrel. Because of that, I concluded that the Volcano doesn't suck, it just happens to be severely outclassed by the Snider, because of that base damage difference. The Volcano's special effects, being a unique red text weapon here, is that it has a slightly increased splash radius and an increased splash damage. Taking a look at the splash damage here, we can see that it's doing about 935,000. Whereas a Snider is going to be doing 673,000. However, on a headshot, the Snider is doing more than 9.2 million. Whereas the Volcano, if we can get rid of this stack of critical ascension, it should go away here in a moment. Whereas the Volcano is doing about 8.8 million. So the Snider is definitely dealing more damage per headshot than the Volcano is doing. The Volcano, like I said, has a very slightly increased splash radius. That's where the splash damage seems to be at its radius, is about right here. Scoot a little bit closer, we see that number pop up. Scoot a little bit further, and it goes away. If we scoot a little bit further, I think. Geez, now it's happening a little bit closer. Okay, so that seems to be where it goes away. Scoot a little bit closer, and it's there again. So about right here is the edge of that splash radius. Scoot just where it starts happening. Then we'll switch over to a Snider, and we can see that it's not happening yet. We have to scoot a little bit closer still. And so you can see that's where the Snider's splash damage starts happening. Scoot a little bit further out, not happening. Switch over to the Volcano, is happening. So the Volcano had a little bit more splash damage and a little bit bigger splash radius than the regular Snider had. And I didn't really think that made up for its significant decrease in base damage, especially when you had access to a Gemstone version, which was dealing even a little bit more damage on a critical hit because it has a slightly higher critical hit damage than the non-Gemstone version. Obviously, Gemstone weapons were increased to a new rarity as a part of the patch, which we're applying now, so the Gemstone Snider is going to get a little bit better. But the Volcano is also going to get a little bit better. The patch notes say that they removed the Volcano's damage penalty, gave it a bigger splash radius, and increased damage over time. So whereas before, the Volcano and the Snider had the same damage over time, now the Volcano has a much higher damage over time, which is good. It also has a slightly higher chance to ignite than it had before, slightly outpacing the Snider. We can see that the Gemstone version is going to have more base damage, but compared to a purple variant, the Volcano is a lot closer in base damage now. We'll head down to the dummy and see how that plays out. I think that the Volcano is actually going to be on par with the purple version on a critical hit now, and we'll see about that. Whoa, the Volcano also does a huge fiery explosion every time you shoot it now, which is kind of crazy. Taking a look at the splash damage here, we can see that it's now dealing about 1 million in splash damage, which is pretty cool. Switching over to the Snider, it's doing 673k. Looks like the Snider is now ticking for about 106, 107-ish thousand per tick, whereas the Volcano is going to be ticking for 176-ish thousand per tick. So that's pretty good. On a headshot, the Volcano is now doing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 9.4 million damage, whereas the Snider is doing, if we can get rid of this critical hit stack, about 9.2 million damage, or 9.3 million damage. So pretty close to on par between the two there. If we can get rid of that stack of critical ascension somehow, maybe go into the menu, make it go away. Yeah, so they're dealing pretty similar amounts of damage now. I want that critical ascension stack to go away. So yeah, that's going to be about 9.5 million damage there, whereas the purple Snider is doing, if we can get this critical ascension stack to go away. Perfect. Yeah, 9.3 million damage. So getting outpaced a little now, the purple Snider is, but obviously the Gemstone Snider is going to outpace both of them on a critical hit shot, dealing over over 10 million damage per shot there. So pretty crazy on the Gemstone version, but to be expected. Now, the Maliwan Volcano is going to have a much higher splash radius now than the Gemstone version is. So we can shoot way over here and it's still doing splash damage, whereas the Snider is not. We'll have to get a lot closer with the Snider before we start dealing its damage. So you can see there that the Snider has to be a lot closer in order to get that splash damage. Anywho, one place that I thought the Volcano special effect of having increased splash damage and increased damage over time might be handy for us is going to be the Bloodshot Stronghold, and I will travel there now. I'm choosing the Bloodshot Stronghold because there are a lot of enemies there that have shields. I'm talking about the shielded nomads that sometimes block their critical hit spots for, a large majority of their lifespan. And so maybe we'll be able to work through them with just the splash damage and the burn damage over time. In Borderlands 1, the burn damage over time on the Volcano and the Hellfire was so crazy that you could put just a few rounds in a group of enemies and it would end up taking them all out. I don't expect that this will do that, but since the community patch boosted all damage over time, I think it's likely to actually deal quite a bit of damage. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to begin by slagging this guy here, and didn't get a critical hit on him, but obviously the Pimpernel did, so he was still going to take quite a bit of damage there. I'll let these two lunatics run at me here. Hopefully the Ironclad is slagged. So with slag, it looks like the Ironclad died in 3 hits, which isn't that bad. This guy has a shield, so obviously he's going to resist our first shot, but then he's going to die once his shield is depleted. Try to find this guy through the visual pollution. The Volcano's new visual effect looks really awesome, but it might just add a little bit more visual pollution that we're going to have to work through. Not a huge deal if the damage over time and splash damage is so crazy that the critical hits we miss because of visual pollution will be somewhat mitigated, hopefully. Cool. So with slag, these guys will blow up pretty quickly. Oh, so here's our first shielded nomad. We were above him, though, and so we were able to shoot through it, or shoot over it. And that guy moved his shield for us, so that worked out well. If those guys were giving us a little bit more trouble, as far as their AI behavior, the weapon would have been even more effective. I want to kill that guy with the shock damage over time gun, for obvious reasons. With slag and a modest amount of critical ascension, this weapon seems to be killing even through shields now, which is good. Try to get this guy killed with Deception and Death Mark. That lunatic's going to be all on us now, so irritating. Alright, blew that guy up. Alright, so this guy's holding his shield right in front of him. Can't really see his head there, but somehow we still found a critical hit, which is good. And we'll begin to blow up the rest of these dudes. We're working up to a semi-respectable amount of critical ascension at this point, which is good. Critical ascension's easier to maintain in the patch version of the game, so that's good as well. We'll blow up that annoying gun thing. Sounds like at least one of these enemies here has a very, very powerful shock weapon. I don't know who that is at this point in time. Whoa. Huh, I was expecting that nomad to have died, but apparently he wasn't slagged. Let's get him slagged. Alright, so once we slagged him and did a bunch of damage with the Pimpernel, the damage over time was able to save our ass there, so that's cool. Should probably test how much damage over time this weapon's doing, but it seems to actually kill dudes, which is good. Alright, we'll begin to slag and kunai some of these dudes, and with this amount of critical ascension and slag, most of these enemies should die in one shot, assuming that they don't have a shield to make them resist fire. Huh. That guy should burn to death, but he's not yet. Interesting. With slag, I'm sure he would have. Luckily, the antagonist saw fit to block some of my shots there, and then that guy was doing a advanced wave dashing technique. He's a big Super Smash Bros. Melee fan. Antagonist is still blocking shots, which is always handy. It's one of the best weapons in the game, or the best shields in the game at least, but it does block your weapon shots occasionally, which is irritating. Anywho, we'll move forward here. You can see that this is a potent weapon. The damage over time definitely seems to be increased over a base weapon, which is big. If you have a bunch of enemies grouped up with the increased splash radius, you might really be able to get some use out of that increased splash damage. So situations where that would be useful would definitely be where you have a ton of exploding nomads, or exploding lunatics rather, or a bunch of shielded nomads like this. I imagine it would also be useful against wildlife in some scenarios where, you know, the wildlife groups up and attacks all at once and stuff. Alright, so we're in a bad way here with these guys. This is where I'm talking about the splash damage maybe helping us through, and the fire damage. So I'm just trying to deal damage to this guy here, even without critical hits, while I'm waiting for Deception to recover. Cool, so we were finally able to take out that guy there. Definitely not enough to just shoot through a badass nomad shield and finish him off, but, you know, it did okay. Try to get some health back off of this guy. That's the last of our grenades. And it didn't slag him, which is unfortunate. Cool. So he's finished off almost. We'll throw one more up there and it will kill him. Excellent. We'll begin working through the rest of this room. Obviously, Mad Mike will be spawning soon, who is a very dangerous enemy because he spawns with a rocket launcher. The rocket launcher he spawns with is random. He'll either get a slow-moving rocket launcher that should be easy for us to work through, or he'll get something that is going to be a lot tougher. Cool. Hopefully this guy drops a grenade because I really need it. And I had to run through that fire damage over time just to get to that grenade. So, unfortunate there. We've got two enemies here. Maybe the boar between these two enemies will kill them with our fire damage over time, even if we don't get a critical hit. I'm not sure about that, though. So, even without a critical hit, the splash damage and fire damage over time was enough to work through it. I could have aimed for a critical hit and got up sooner, but I just wanted to see if it would do it without it. Cool. Got an ironclad here. Feel like that one famous CSGO player who just walked through the fire and died when he was trying to clutch out a victory or something. I think he actually already had the victory secured and still walked through the molly and died. So that's kind of what I just did. Obviously with much lower stakes. Excellent. So we'll blow up this dude with a headshot. And hopefully get some health here and a grenade. We need to kill Mad Mike now, I think, so try to slag him. Excellent. Did manage to kill him. Had a little bit of trouble actually hitting that critical hit. We've got an ironclad chasing us now, and I got stuck, which is irritating. Sounds like there's a Maliwan SMG or something over here, so we want to deal with this guy. Perfect. We'll wait for this ironclad to come at us now. Alright. Cool. So there are more dudes up here. We should probably grab some grenades before we go forward. I should do some of my slagging with the Pimpernel as well, but sometimes I worry about doing slagging with the Pimpernel in these videos because the Pimpernel is so powerful that it often just kills enemies. Alright, blew up that dude. Try to blow up this dude before he gets his shield in front of his face. That was good. I don't know what that guy was being blocked by. Got another Nomad Tyrant here. Perfect. So it seems like the best method for taking out Nomads, even when you have a weapon with high splash damage, is still to somehow get them to move their shield and then kill them while it's moved. But if they're not going to move it, which sometimes does happen, the AI just doesn't see fit to cooperate with you, the Volcano can definitely work through that. Being that the Volcano is now better than a Maliwan Snider of a purple rarity, I would say, yeah, this weapon definitely does not suck. The damage over time still isn't quite where it was at in Borderlands 1, where it would, you know, just melt enemies. Even if you didn't shoot them, you just shot nearby enemies. But I don't know. No weapons in Borderlands 2 really have that amount of damage over time. At least not many. Cool. Got another Nomad here with the shield, so we'll have to figure out a way to deal with him. In the meantime, I'll take out this other nomad. Flank this guy, get him slagged, hopefully. Huh. Wasn't able to hit that critical hit. He did tell all of these guys to charge me, so I'm going to retreat. Excellent. The huge explosion it makes is a little bit disorienting. I can't really see things, especially since the damage over time numbers are so huge as well. Definitely makes it hard to concentrate on, precise shots and stuff, but that does happen, and this is definitely not the only weapon that it happens with, so it's just something that happens in Borderlands 2. I'm sure there's a mod that makes the damage over time numbers and all the visual pollution a little bit less intense. Looks like this weapon does function well enough with Boar to kill guys without a critical hit, though, which is good. Yeah, against these guys with the shields, it's, Fire Pimpernel would be a much better choice to take them out with shields. So the splash damage, it doesn't reign supreme in splash damage compared to a Pimpernel, obviously, but that's kind of to be expected. Cool. Obviously, with proper bonuses, a modest amount of critical ascension and slag and deception plus kunai, it's going to wreck dudes, even badass dudes. It will kill them one shot. But since it does more damage than a Snider, which we know can absolutely do that as well, that's kind of to be expected. This weapon is powerful. It definitely doesn't suck. I think it is cool that it is a little bit better than a Snider now, especially since it's only available in one element. It doesn't obsolete the corrosive variant of the sniper, but since the storm and the volcano happen to be a little bit better than the shock and the fire versions of the Snider respectively, I think that's pretty cool. It would be kind of neat if there was a unique corrosive sniper as well, or a corrosive Snider, because these are all kind of based on the storm and the volcano are kind of based on at least a Maliwan Snider. So if there was a unique corrosive Maliwan Snider, I think that would be a cool a cool addition to the game as well. Unfortunately, they're no longer making content for this game. They should just make one more DLC for this game, only for the handsome version and the PC version. Forget the Xbox and the PS3 since they can't really handle it. The Xbox 360 I'm talking about. Make another DLC for this game. I'd say 4 months or so before Borderlands 3 is finally going to release, just to generate hype. I know that they're probably out of the swing of Borderlands 2 production and everything now, so it might be really difficult and a waste of time to do that. But if they ever add more DLC to this game, make a corrosive volcano or a corrosive storm. Make a corrosive Snider, because we have a cool volcano now, we have a cool storm now, and it would be cool to have a cool corrosive Snider as well. Either way, the volcano definitely is a cool weapon now. It definitely does not suck. I think that its benefits are enough to justify its uses in certain situations over even a Gemstone Snider. If you have a bunch of enemies that can be grouped up, like if you're playing with a Maya, which is using convergence and stuff, you can get a bunch of those enemies grouped up and deal a lot of fire damage over time to them. I think that the volcano is also always a better choice on Axton, who receives some skills that can benefit this weapon's splash damage. So the more of the damage you have allocated to splash, the more Axton benefits from it. Anywho, as always, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet taken the time to subscribe, please do that as well. I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, I do hope to catch you next time. Bye, guys.